Well, hello again. Here we are. Here we are, another day, another time. But this time we have something different. We have Joe Stack. Joe Stack. Today, things are different because of Joe Stack. Joe Stack was a man who didn't do something that was very good, but he did something. Joe Stack. Immediately, as soon as Joe Stack did what he did, there were those who vilified him and said he was a terrorist. And then there were those who said he was a folk hero. But who was Joe Stack? Who was he? I read his letter. I read it. And what I read was not written by an unintelligent man. What I read made sense. What I read was a man's story about his battle with a government that actually didn't care about him or anyone. Not really. What I read was about a man who was vilified over and over again by the IRS, who was treated like a nobody, even though he went to school, did what he was supposed to, worked hard, paid his taxes, took care of business, tried very hard to do it the right way, even though that right way might have been not the way that the government wanted him to. Who was Joe Stack? Was Joe Stack you? Was Joe Stack me? What Joe Stack did wasn't a good thing, because it's never a good thing to hurt people. But what Joe Stack did took courage. And it was a man who was caught up in a very tragic situation, one that every single one of us is caught up in. Joe Stack wasn't a bad man. In fact, his letter was clear, poignant. It made points about things that were very true. And what Joe Stack died for wasn't to be a hero or even to be a villain. What Joe Stack died for was because he was just plain sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of it. Enough is enough. That's what it was all about. And that's what I've been saying all along. Enough is enough. Are we Joe Stack? Are you, I, all of us standing around saying enough is enough, but not taking that step, that last step he took? No, of course it's not something I advocate. But I do know this. In reading that letter, I found a thread of something that was me. A thread that was all of us. Joe Stack was a tragedy. And if you see a man out there saying, Joe Stack was a terrorist, a homegrown terrorist, could he be using Joe Stack for his own personal gain, to implement his fear-mongering on us even more, to subdue us? And if you see a man out there saying, Joe Stack was a hero, he was a patriot, could that man be using Joe Stack for his own personal gain, to implement change so that his Republican Party or his way of thinking would take control of the situation? Don't you see, that's what Joe Stack died for. That's what he did for. Because he was sick and tired of people using each other for their own gain. He was one of those people. Used. He felt used. Joe Stack wasn't a bad man. He was just a man. A man who was just plain sick and tired of it. Just like I'm sick and tired of it. Just like you're sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of a government that gives our billions of dollars away to corporations and banks that still treat us like we're the ones who are in the wrong if we try to get a little credit and we get behind. Is that really what it's all about? I mean, if we fight a war in Afghanistan or Pakistan and we kill 50 or maybe 60 or 100 innocent people accidentally, and we go, oops, oh, we're sorry. But we're fighting against terrorism. It's okay. But a man like Joe Stack, who fought against the system his whole life, tried to work every way possible, the right way, did it all right, went to school, got his degree, became an engineer, tried to do business, tried to have a life. If he does what he does, kills a couple of people, hurts about 10, he's a villain. He's a villain, or he's a hero. Which is he? I don't think Joe Stack thought of himself as a hero or a villain. And he made it very clear in his letter, that was very clear, that what he was just plain sick and tired of it. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of Joe Stack in every one of us. Every one of us. If you're watching this video, then you are Joe Stack. You are sick and tired of it, just like I am. And he said it. If we don't stand up against it, then it'll just be business as usual. And he wasn't going to pretend that it was just not going to be business as usual after he did what he did, because of course it was. In fact, even more so, because they took him and they used him immediately. As soon as the deed was done, he was a villain or a hero. Read the letter. I'll post it on my blog. My blog will be posted at the end of this video. If you haven't already found it, it's out there. Do a Google, Joe Stack. Just do it. It's out there. I found it. The FBI tried to eradicate it. They shut down his website. They asked the web provider to remove it immediately. Why? There's nothing in it that's bad. The only thing bad in it is just that he does advocate violence. He says that in his way of life, he never thought he would ever believe it, but he thought that violence is really the only way left to us. And if that's true, then he walked a path that ended up in a very sad place. Dogged, abused by a system that does it to all of us, by a government IRS system that doesn't have a heart, that doesn't care. I'm not so sure what Joe Stack was, except that he was a man, just a plain old man, just like you, just like me, just a person, just like any of us, who tried and tried, and finally found there was no way that it was going to work anymore. He said, I'm not going to die the way you say I am. I'm going to die my way. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die playing the game until the end of days, until I am no longer capable of even lifting a finger to work, and you still sucking my blood for every dollar you can to give to bankers, to lawyers, to people in the major corporations so they can laugh in our face and use us as fodder for their mistakes. No, he said, I'm going to die my way. He's like the guy in the movie. He stuck his head out the window and he said, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's what Joe Stack did. That's all. It's not some great feat. He just simply said in his own way, I'm not going to take it anymore. And he said in his letter, he hoped that the people would stand up finally, once and for all, and tell this system we are not going to take it anymore. Yes, he advocated violence. No, I do not. There must be and has to be another way. But we can take what he did and think about it and see if there is something inside of us that we can find to take us to the right road to achieve what he couldn't but tried in his own wrong way. We can. We can. And much like V for Vendetta, who failed but succeeded, we can be those people under those masks. We can become Guy Fawkes. We can become Joe Stack. No, he's not a hero. No, he's not a villain. Again, I say, Joe Stack was just a man. Just a man. And he was just plain sick of it. But he didn't do what other men who have been like him did. He didn't steal money. He didn't go rob a bank. He didn't do anything but attack the one thing that he felt was the cause of his suffering throughout his entire life, and that was the IRS. Now, I'm not telling you go out and bomb an IRS building. Of course not. That's silly. It wouldn't do any good. But Joe Stack didn't think it through. He just did it. He just did it. And he left behind a letter. And that letter made sense in a lot of ways. Almost right up to the very end of it, it made sense. If you haven't read it, read it. If you can find it, get it. Because I guarantee there will be a day very soon you will not find it. Read the letter. Find out who Joe Stack really was. Again, not a bad man.